Guys, what's your anyways, we're married now story? Story 1. Met a girl online about 20 years ago one summer after college and found out we live in nearby towns, so decided to get together. Go out on a few dates, drive by local preschool. Me. Hey, that's where I went to preschool. Her. That's where I went to preschool. That day we find a preschool class photo. There we are, 2 feet from each other. A few months later, my dad finds some old footage of a Christmas play our preschool class put on. We're standing right next to each other. Oh, gang, I just know this one is going to be so good. I'm so excited to hear these stories. Don't you just love stories like this, like weird coincidences of how people are together? Honestly melts my heart. I feel like we're in for a really good video today. So stay tuned, people, because Ashley's here to save the day with some love story. Story 2. When we first met, his first words to me were, "I'm gonna wife you." And I scoffed. Anyways, we're married now. This happened to me, but the guy said, "Oh, I'd put a baby in ya." After I mentioned something about wanting kids, and I rolled my eyes. 2.5 years later, our 6-week-old son is asleep in a bassinet beside me right now. Story 3. I moved to China to teach middle school. Was introduced to another teacher while we were still in the Beijing airport. So anyway, we're married now and have adopted 2 kids from Korea. Your story sounds so much like the thing with Ross and Julie from Friends. Story 4. In 2nd grade, I was voted class favourite. Why was this ever a thing? Horrible idea for kids' self-esteem. Along with a weird fella who I had trouble believing anyone even voted for because he was quite reserved and bland. In the 5th grade, I remember the same guy getting called to the front of the class to write his answer on the board. He was awkward and dressed accordingly. The girl seated behind me very quietly commented, "Only I heard this, but it was a humorously accurate observation." After 5th grade, I never saw him or heard from him again until we were 21. He showed up at my house to purchase a vehicle we had for sale after my dad passed exactly 1 month earlier. I only recognised him after my mum wrote his name on a receipt for purchasing the car. I reminded him of our time as class favourite, and my mum made a show of breaking out the yearbooks. Anyways, we're happily married now. Story 5. Our first date was a disaster of epic proportions. Ended with me yelling at her and her paying the check while I was in the toilet just so she could get out of there quicker. Anyways, we're married now, over 8 years strong, and 2 kids. I can't see my life without this beautiful, crazy person, and I like to think she feels the same way. Aw, gang, isn't that so lovely? It makes me laugh when, like, 2 people first meet each other and they really don't get along. Like, they absolutely hate one another. Like, the other one's so obnoxious. Oh, she's so bossy and rah, rah, rah. I love a story where, actually, they might hate each other, but treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen. You know that saying, guys. And I think that's exactly what happened here. I used to live by treat 'em mean in school. I thought I was a right player. Turns out I was a loser. Story 6. My uncle met my aunt while pooing on the side of the road drunk while his friends laughed hysterically. She was walking somewhere that I don't remember. He then stared at her for a solid minute, then passed out. She started laughing and they started dating 2 days later. Anyways, now they're married. And that, son, is why drinking is good for you. Story 7. Hooked up from Craigslist. Anyway, we're married now. Substitute Yahoo, personals for Craigslist, and that would be us. Met for a hookup, then spent the next few months trying to pretend that we weren't falling for each other. Didn't work. Been married 17 years now. Oh, gang. Who knew that Craigslist could be a dating app? What actually is Craigslist? Is it like an American eBay? I think I've asked this question before, but I still haven't found out what it is. So, Cheese, if you're listening, let me know in the comments. I mean, you're the only one commenting at this point, so thank you. But, yeah, Craigslist is the new Tinder, by the sounds of things. What's everyone's opinions on dating apps? I'm not too sure how I feel about them. I've never used one, never had to. That's not me being like real confident. I've just always had a boyfriend, so I haven't had to use it. But yeah, what's everyone's opinions? I just find it super awkward. Story 8. I swiped right on someone who was the exact opposite of my type. Short, big teeth, not ambitious, really skinny. He was leaving town the morning after our date. He was a good half hour late to the date, muttered softly, and was bad with eye contact. I only went on the date because I did really fricked up stuff happen to me, and I just wanted one date with someone that wasn't going to lead to anything, just to feel normal. Anyway, we just had our first kid. Story 9. A friend of my brother's had a drinking problem in college. One day he crashed his truck in the side of the road and a man walked up and said, "You okay?" "Yup." "You drunk?" "Yup." "Get in my car. I'll get in here and tell the cops I lost control." The guy got in the man's car, got in the back seat and sat next to his future wife. The stranger's daughter is now his wife. Holy cheese! As if that guy was gonna take the blame for something like that. That could have been serious as well. Like, that could have been jail time, hun. Like, so that guy is committed. Let me tell you that. because you will not catch me doing that for anyone. Let's put it that way. Story 10. The drummer for a band I was in told his girlfriend at the time that she wasn't allowed to talk to me because she would just try and frick me anyways. His now ex-girlfriend and I are married with 4 kids. Can't say he wasn't wrong though. Evidence shows you two ficked at least 4 times. Story 11. So my brother's college roommate called me for legal advice because his crazy ex was being super crazy. Anyway, we're married now 7 years come November. 2 kids and a house. Story 12. We met in the McDonald's we both work at. At the time, we both had boyfriends and then both came out as lesbians together. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie. Story 13. I met my husband when I got a new job at a grocery store. And then the guy from the deli came up and yelled at me for hanging up on customers when I couldn't figure out the phone transfer process. He was that guy from the deli. And anyway, we're married now. I literally dread when anyone calls my work and asks to be transferred. I rarely do it and I don't think I've ever done it successfully. I give him the right number first and say, and now I'll try to transfer you. Call that number if I accidentally hang up. Pretty sure I hang up every time. Yeah, you think that's bad. Try actually hanging up on customers can't be bothered to deal with their rubbish. Don't look at me. Story 14. So when my wife was dating, she got pneumonia and didn't have health insurance. Asked her to elope to get on my insurance and 2 weeks later, we're married. Story 15. This girl ordered chicken fingers from me at Fuddruckers. Anyways, we're married now. What in the cotton-eyed Joe is Fuddruckers? Someone tell me. Whoever created that must have known exactly what they were doing. Do you know what I mean, guys? Like, what does that sound like? Someone tell me. Someone tell me I'm right and just don't have a weird mind. Story 16. Co-worker's boyfriend's brother came up to stay with them. We have to have you out for dinner with him. You have a lot in common. He likes nerdy things too. You're not allowed to date him though, okay? Definitely dated and married him. Co-worker and now brother-in-law broke up around the time we got engaged. He's better without her. Story 17. We worked together in college. I knew she liked me, but I had a cool guy reputation at work and didn't want to ruin it by dating someone there who could let everyone know I'm an emotional mess. One day my battery dies while my roommates are out of town and she offers to drive me to get a new car battery. But first, you have to buy me dinner, she said. That was our first date. Our second date, I stood her up so she wouldn't be so damn cute and flirty with me. Anyways, we've been married 11 years this month. Story 18. Shortly after we met, he asked me. I laughed and said no. Anyhow, we're married now. Sounds like my story. I got a random text that said, to which I replied, honestly, no. Turns out my mechanic stole my number off a service sheet which could get him fired. Anyways, we're married now. Story 19. I stared at her chest the first time I met her. She noticed. I was friend-zoned. Anyways, now we're married and have a kid and it's wonderful. Story 20. I met this girl. She started calling me, then every time I went out to eat or to a movie, she showed up. Sometimes I would come home from work and she would be waiting outside my place with dinner. The last time she came over, she never left. Sure, she leaves for a bit, but comes right back. Anyways, I said, why the frick not? And we're married now. I mean, guys, you've got to love the commitment. Like, she knew exactly what she wanted. She went out there and she got it. Even if she does sound like a stalker, I mean, they're married, so she got her way in the end. It's quite sweet when you think about it, really. But I don't think I could ever let myself chase someone like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, unless I know that it's reciprocated, which this guy, it wasn't to begin with, so she must have worked her magic. Story 21. I had a cold and went on a date to an Irish pub. I was eating bangers and mash and had the urge to cough. I tried to keep my mouth shut, but just wound up spraying his face with gravy and mashed potatoes through my pursed lips. I was still coughing, so I took a sip of my drink to soothe my throat. It was beer. The bubbles tickled my throat more. I also spit that all over his face. He stared at me in disgusted horror as gravy, mashed potatoes, and beer dripped down his face onto his shirt. I laughed and laughed and laughed, making my apologies sound very insincere. Anyways, we're married now. Thank goodness our booth had high backs, so only he suffered. Story 22. So we went downtown in college to celebrate a friend's 21st birthday. My date for the evening had a few too many cocktails and ended up getting kicked out of the bar because she used the utility closet as a bathroom. I left to walk her home. But anyways, we're marrying next month. Oh kids, wait until you find out what your mum was like in college. So really, don't think we haven't heard it all. Done it all. Whoa, mum, you did what? Congrats. Guys, I am not joking when I say this, okay? If and when I have kids, I don't think I can actually tell them some stories from my younger years. I mean, I'm only 26, I'm acting like I'm ancient. But yeah, I really don't think I can tell them because they would disown me, genuinely, as their mother. I'm not joking. Like, back when I was in my, early 20s, I was a nutter. And I'm not just saying this to try and be cool, okay? Because it wasn't cool what I was like. It was actually embarrassing and a disgrace. But yeah. I'm not going to share it with you guys just because I overshare anyway. But yeah, not good stuff. Story 23. The first time I really hung out with this guy, he threw up all over me. Anyways, we're married now. Wow, same though. Took my now fiance to a Chinese place that has Mai Tais for $5. He threw up all over the bathroom of the place while I sang karaoke. I insisted he wasn't driving his car home. I walked him to my car with his pants falling off. Anyways, he threw up and got vom beans in my tape deck, and we're engaged now. I'm still mad about the tape deck though. I have a different car now. I still had so many days I couldn't play my tapes. For clarification, he had a burrito for lunch, so that's why it was straight beans in my car. He doesn't drink much anymore. Story 24. On our first date, he tried showing off by drifting down a gravel road and tore through a ranch fence. Anyway, we're married now. Story 25. My dad threw a paper airplane at the back of my mum's head in college. She told him to grow up. Anyways, they've been married now for over 36 years. Okay, guys, I have to ask. If anyone is watching or listening, if anyone is, serious question, I want to know your parents' interesting stories of how they met. Because surely someone has got some. Like, I am a sucker for a love story. Not necessarily a love story, to be fair, just like an interesting meetup. Like, how did they meet each other? Was it unusual? Was it just like really common? I want to know. So please do let me know in the comments. Story 26. My significant other and I have been together since 2012. Marriage was never really a huge concern of ours. In 2016, I found a large lump in my breast. I didn't have insurance. He did. Anyways, we're married now. I'm fine, just have fibrocystic breast disease, which is common and non-threatening. Okay, so glad that it's non-threatening and you're okay. So happy for you, thumbs up. Everyone give her a clap. Love this. Guys, what's your opinion on marriage? I know I always ask you guys loads of questions, but it's questions that I have in my own head and I want other people's, because I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I think it's a lovely way to like show your love for one another, get your friends and family together in an intimate setting and have a celebration of love. But also, I think it's a ton load of money just to show people how much you love each other. And it doesn't even necessarily mean you really do love each other that much, because some people just get married to save the relationship, you know? But anyway, I'm not being negative. Well, I am, but anyway. Yeah, I think sometimes it's just like you're spending all that money and it doesn't make me love my partner any more than, you know? I think if I was to get married, I'd elope, probably. That sounds like the best thing for me. Story 27. My great-grandparents met because my great-grandfather was delivering the newspaper to my great-grandmother's house. And her brother, though he was trespassing and tried shooting at him, my great-grandmother felt bad and bought him lunch. They were together for over 75 years and lived a very happy life. Story 28. Me, 6 years old, trying to hang out with my older brother. He's in high school and has a female friend over, but I want to play Zelda. So I pester him and his friend until they play with me, and his friend responds by hog-tying me and putting me in a closet, playfully. Fast forward 18 years, and she and I are dating and have a house together. Still annoying, still get tied up, but I've been out of the closet for years. Lol. Story 29. So years ago, one of my friends met a trans woman for the first time and for some reason made a point of telling me that he is totally cool with treating trans women like any other woman, but couldn't see himself getting together with one because he's not into Ds, you know? Anyway, I came out and started transitioning a while after that, and one thing led to another, and we've been together for 4 years at this point. Story 30. When I was 13, I met a girl, Debbie, at summer camp. She talked about her horses and attending the big interstate fair every year with her 4-H group. On my 13th birthday, I went to the fair and looked Debbie up. She agreed to go to the carnival with me, but wasn't all that interested. I can't blame her. 13-year-old me was a dweeb. She brought along her annoying girlfriend Rennie to keep me from getting too fresh, which worked. I was determined to get Debbie alone. Not that I knew exactly why. So I took the girls on the tip-top ride. Rennie got sick, got off the ride and puked. Debbie and Rennie used that as an excuse to split, and I never saw Debbie again. 3 years later, a beautiful new girl with long black hair moved out on my school bus line. I was immediately interested and began a much smoother conversation. We went out a couple weeks later and went to a carnival. She took me on the tip-top and I puked. That girl was Rennie. We were both 3 years older. And anyways, we're married now for 41 years. Story 31. When I was younger, my best friend made an offhand comment of, if you were a girl, I'd want to date you. I think it was meant as a joke at the time. One transition later, he was true to his word. Anyways, we're married now. Oh, I love that. That one is so cute. Love it. Gang, I want to know your anyways, we're married now stories. Because someone listening has got to have one, right? Please. Entertain me while I'm drinking my cuppa reading the comments. Someone please. Story 32. I was in 8th grade and she was a year younger. I had a thing with her best friend. Was walking home with said best friend when she joined us. Absolutely lost it inside when I saw her. Looked so beautiful and cute walking home with her violin in hand. Her parents had a rule about dating till she was 16. They came around eventually, not for a few tough years. Today was 8 years together, known and been hooked on each other for 11. Getting married May of 2022. I still wake up every day and realize how absolutely lucky I am to have her. P.S. She's way out of my league. Story 33. A friend of mine was secretly playing Pokemon at high school when he found a picnicker with the same name as me. He found that funny, so he whispered it to another mutual friend who was sitting next to me. Then the guy on the other side said, "What's so funny?" And they said, "Look, it's a character name for the Fuzzy Bunny 1. And he said, "Who?" So later in the week during a lunch period, they introduced him to me. Anyway, we're married now. He also insists I include the line, "A friend of ours set a table on fire at the wedding. But anyway, we're married now." Because he thinks that's funnier. Story 34. Went to a football game to meet my good friend's fiancé. Anyways, we're married with 3 kids now. To clarify, I'm married to his ex-fiancé, not my good friend. Story 35. We couldn't stand each other. I was dating their best friend, so we kept having to interact. Eventually broke up with a friend for other reasons, but stayed close. Kept having to interact with a person I couldn't stand. For years. We kinda grew on each other. Anyways, we're married now. And friend was in the wedding party. See? I am telling you guys, you heard it here first. Ashley knows best. Treat them mean, keep them keen. Most people start off disliking each other. Honestly, it's facts. I'm telling you now. Like, any relationship stories you hear, most of them start from like, "Oh, he annoyed me in school. He did this in school. Rah, rah, rah. He was a jerk on our first date," or something. Most of them, not most, but a lot of them start like that. I'm telling you now, I've got the gift of the gab. Story 36. I was a niche corn artist. He was a niche corn writer. Anyways, we're married now and still produce and enjoy lots of niche corn media. Wait, stop. So you know the scripts in corn, right? Someone actually writes them? No way. I thought it was all improvisation because the scripts are terrible. I mean, I'm not openly admitting here that I watch it. You know, we've all come across a video in our lives, haven't we? But those scripts are ridiculous. How can someone actually write them? No offense to anyone who does write them, but yeah. Actually, do take offense. Your scripts are awful. Story 37. I was 11 years old talking to this girl I just met walking to lunch at school. She was cool. We liked some of the same stuff. This jock walks up and asks, "What? Are you two dating?" We both kind of looked at him confused and said no. Anyways, we're married now. Story 38. I'd mentioned to my boss that I'm into white boys. In the next round of new hires, he said to me, "Hey, I hired you a white boy." Story 39. My husband and I lived in neighbouring apartment buildings for over a year. We got groceries at the same store. We went to the same gas station. We even worked the same hours at 2 different mental hospitals. We probably crossed paths more than once. Eventually, we met on a dating site. Our 6th anniversary is in a couple weeks. Guys, one thing that creeps me out about life is, there's so many, and like some of us just sort of stay in our hometown and like the people we meet are only in that vicinity. But like, it just spooks me out that we've got so many more people in this world and one day we might meet them. Like some of us haven't even met our best friends yet. Like what a thought is that? Do you know what I mean? Like we could meet our bestest friend when we're like 40. Like things like Story 40. Met my best friend online. He was at my previous wedding and helped me move when I separated from my ex-husband. And then, when I got divorced, asked me to move to a different state to live with him. Anyways, we're engaged now. Hope it's close enough. Story 41. My ex-husband a very long time ago. His friend got ordained online and we were visiting him at his house. He jokingly went through the process in his living room with my ex and I. I didn't really realise it until my ex was like, "So, I guess we're married now." Looking back, I should have ran for the hills. Story 42. I was working at a video game shop and he was hired to DJ the midnight release of a game I didn't care for. He comes in, waits in the giant line of people finalising their pre-order before midnight. When he gets to the register, I ask him if he's here for the premiere, but he says he wouldn't be caught dead playing that game and proceeds to purchase a different, older game I later find out he already has. He asked me when I finish my shift and to swing by the DJ table when I'm off. I do indeed swing by. And now we've been married going on 5 years with 2 cats and a recently purchased home. He proposed by sticking the ring inside the case of the game he bought that night. Story 43. My ex-wife was always unreasonably paranoid that I was into her best friend. When we divorced, her last message was a request that I don't romantically pursue said friend. Of course I agreed to such a reasonable request. We've been together about 2.5 years now and going strong. Ooh, yeah, I've got to say that's one thing as a girl or boy, man or woman, that we do not want our partners to do. Like, if we break up, the last thing we want is for you to go and be romantic with our best friends or to get with our best friends. That is the worst thing anyone can do, I think. Like, Best friends have to be off limits because it causes so many issues. Story 44. Moved to a different city for a job a few months after getting divorced. Didn't want to start dating first thing in a new city, especially after initially coping with a bunch of one-night stands in the old city. So first night in the new city, I get bored and download Bumble. I saw the first profile, thought about it and said, screw it. I get one swipe. And swipes right, thinking if it was no match, I'd spend 6 months focusing on myself. So, that one right swipe. Anyways, we're married now. Very happily too. Story 45. 24 years ago, I was given an internet friend dating advice regarding the new guy she was with, in a different country than myself. They didn't work out and eventually broke up. The guy and I vaguely knew each other online and started chatting after their breakup. So anyways, we're married now. Story 46. We met in elementary school. I transferred schools before high school and we lost touch. Found out we'd enrolled at the same university in the same program once university classes started. Anyways, we're married now. Story 47. Mine's more sentimental than funny, but I first met her 17 years ago. I thought she was beautiful and I loved her personality. I never made any moves because I thought she was out of my league, but we were good friends. One of the few legitimately platonic relationships I've had with a woman. No significant events for over 8 years, other than a few moments when it felt like there was something in the air. Anyway, we're married now and we have twins. There's honestly nothing better. This is kind of relatable because, you know, the feeling when there's something in the air between another person. How exciting is that? Like that moment or that kind of, like that bit when you first meet someone, those first couple weeks or months when there's something in the air but you're not really exploring it. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? It really is. Story 48. I fell down when I went sledding with some of my friends. I open my eyes and see a guy looking down at me. Next thing you know, he sticks his finger in my nose. Anyways, we've been dating 2 years now. Okay, I'd say that's the weirdest one yet. Gotta love a finger in the nose, eh? Story 49. I, a woman, met a nice man at an LGBT event for our law school. I saw him around campus once afterwards and waved at him. Seemingly out of the blue, I get a direct message from him asking me out, which confused me because I assumed he was gay. Anyways, we're married now. Story 50. Reached the church earlier than expected. Was about to go out and have a smoke, but stopped and just prayed casually. Like, talk to God. Mostly about why all the girls I meet are non-compatible. Long-term relationship was out of question. Suddenly, I saw a vision of a girl walking towards the altar and just looked at the cross and said, why not her? She looks nice. We ended up matching a website online. Turns out her dad and I had been talking all along in the church, but didn't know they were family. Got married to her in less than 6 months from the date of my casual prayer. No one, even my wife, believes this. Don't care. Anyway, we're married now. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.